Welcome to our Wafer Paper Friday. My name is Chef Anna. I'm a wedding cake designer and owner of Flore Cakes. And this is my invitation to you to join me and do something with your hands. Whether you decide to work with wafer paper or you're working on cakes, this is your time to do something with your hands. That's my goal. So let me know where you join me from and what is your drink of choice. I already finished my cup of coffee, almost. I have a one sip, and I'm drinking water. So let me know where you're watching me from and what is your drink of choice. And if you wanted to share what are you working on, I would love to support you. So my goal is to stay here for about an hour and work on a few projects I need to finish today because it's Friday and I wanted to create some space for you to manage your projects. And let me know if you can hear me, you can see me, and give me a second. I will check our chat. I think everything is working. I hope everything is working. So, yeah, from the Netherlands, I live in South Carolina, and it's cloudy, but it's relatively warm outside. It was raining, so my humidity is, let me grab my humidity checker. My humidity is 65%, 66, and I would have to adjust my wafer paper conditioner. And I'm working on making wafer paper flowers for one. Here's my cake. So I'm working on a cake. I'm making a tutorial for a cake I have here. I already have the cake. I just need to make flowers. So this is the cake. Like this is the cake. I'm working on making more of these flowers because I need to make a tutorial a little bit later today for a company I'm working with. So this is what I'm working on and this is what I'm looking at. I need to make a few of this like little very simple wedding flowers that are my go-to flowers. They're kind of like a filler flowers, and that's what I need to make a few more today so I can film a tutorial a little bit later. So hello from South Africa. Coffee is my choice. Yeah, can you see? Yeah, coffee is my choice. So these are, one day I'll tell you a story about these mugs, coffee mugs, but I bought them in Estonia, I believe 15 years ago, and I still drink coffee out of them every single day. I have three of them left. I had four, now I have only three, but yellow is my favorite color, so that's why I have my coffee every single day from a yellow mug. Hello from Barcelona, Spain. Hello from Poland, Ireland, Scotland. Very sunny today. Lucky you. It's still cloudy here in South Carolina. Um, Pennsylvania, next year moving to South Carolina. Yeah, South Carolina. I love South Carolina. I'm not complaining. I love it. I love it. Despite last night's hurricane issues, but I love it. And watching from Australia, 1 a.m. Again, it's my Australian friends. Thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you so much for being here. And watching from Surrey, England. And hello. So let me know where you're watching me from and what is your drink of choice. I have water, and I think water is from North Carolina, doesn't matter, but that's the water I drink, and I have a cup of coffee. And I'm working on my wafer paper flowers, so I will walk you through the process. It's not a tutorial because I already have a tutorial for similar flowers on my YouTube channel, on my website, Flore Cakes, but that's what I need to do today. My piece of wafer paper just flew away, and this is, let me show you again. So this is the design I'm working on for a company. So I'm going to teach the pastry art magazine summit this summer, and this is the cake that's going to be presented over there. So I'm making a tutorial on how to make these flowers for the pastry art magazine summit, and I need to make a little bit more of that. And I will switch in between two cameras as usual. I have my top view camera, and so far So far, everything is working. Technologies, you know, every single time I teach live or do anything with my hands, I'm so worried about technologies not working properly. So thank you so much for joining me live on YouTube. I would love to go live maybe once a week. Fridays work the best for me, and make something and share something, how I'm making things. So I have a few things prepared here that I need to make my flowers, and I wanted to play around and just like chat with you, share what I'm working on. And I'm definitely will use my Wafer paper conditioner, acetonic. You can download free recipe on my website floriacakes.com/recipe, or it should be somewhere in the description. I would need a brush to shape my wafer paper. I have wafer paper. This is 0.27 millimeters wafer paper, but any wafer paper will work. And I will use a few shapers. These are actually from mochi ice cream. So I saved them. They are perfect plastic round shapes, and I use them as shapers. So if you find something that is food grade and suitable for your shapers, and use that. And I have a few pieces of bumpy foam. That's what I'm going to use as well. So let me grab my wafer paper and see what I can do at the beginning. I need to cut my petals, so I'll start with cutting my petals and chatting and answering your questions. So this is the wafer paper I use. The brand is Oasis Supply. Just very basic wafer paper I got from Amazon this week. I think this week. So, watching from Australia, watching from Montreal. Hello, Montreal. And Maryland, USA. What size of your dime is? I'll talk about that a little bit later when I will wait on my petals to dry. And Germany, Vermont, Melbourne, Australia. Oh, why you need to it's so late in Melbourne. It's so late in Australia, on other side of the world. It's like 11 a.m. here in South Carolina. So I have my wafer paper. Usually for a technique like this, I just use as many scraps of wafer paper as I can, and I cut like random size of petals. Usually I just like look at my wafer paper and see how many petals I can cut, because for something like this, I wanted to reuse as much wafer paper as possible. And when I'm shaping my wafer paper, like random petals, usually I know that it's going to shrink a little bit. Not shrink, but because of the texture, it's going to get a little bit smaller. So usually I just cut it on a corner and then round 3 other corners to give it kind of like a petal shape. Nothing fancy, just using as much wafer paper as I can and having as little scraps as I can. So you can see I already cut like a few, maybe a dozen of petals, and I barely have any scraps because that's what I wanted to use for my flowers. And then I would have to condition them, shape them, and leave them to dry before assembling. I think this should be enough to begin with. Let's make a few smaller ones, and then I wanted to make them like this. And I save my wafer paper scraps to make wafer paper glue and all the other things, and that's what I use to assemble all my wafer paper petals. So okay, my scraps will go on the side. I have a little jar where like these are wafer paper scraps, just melted. I use a coffee grinder or a food processor to grind that all together. So I'll put it on top at the beginning, and I will start with conditioning my petals. So because I want these flowers to be more like wedding style flowers, I wanted to make them pearlescent. Oh, let me grab my color, and I'm going to use Pearl Shine. This is an airbrush pearl color. I find this is the most useful for wafer paper for wedding cakes. I use it a lot for everything. So because I make primarily wedding cakes, all my colors are muted and all my colors are very light. So pearl sheen, something like this of Amazon again, works perfectly for wafer paper, and I'm going to mix it with my wafer paper conditioner. And I do use wafer paper conditioner every time I work with wafer paper because I just need the moisture. And wafer paper conditioner is a glycerin base, so it's glycerin and water, and you can download my free recipe to work with wafer paper and pearl shine. Also for wafer paper and my shaper. So I have my shaper on the side. And for wafer paper, I find that first of all, applying that with a brush, it's easier for me. You can use a spray bottle. I just don't like to clean my whole kitchen. If I use an airbrush or I use a spray bottle, then I have to clean my whole kitchen with wafer paper colors, airbrush colors flying all over. So wafer paper, when you work with wafer paper or making any flowers, if you just wanted to make a very easy, simple flowers, wafer paper has two sides, like single thickness wafer paper has two sides. One side is shiny side, or you can see it's very shiny, pearlescent, and very smooth. But the other side is bumpy side. It's a little bit more textural. So this side, you can call it bumpy side, whatever, rough side, and the other side is shiny or smooth. For something like pearlescent colors or dry colors, I prefer to work on the shiny side because it's thin. It's not thin, but it's smooth, so it reflects color a little bit better than just doing that on bumpy side. So I apply my color on the shiny side of wafer paper to make it a little bit more reflective. And I wanted to make my wafer paper saturated with the conditioner, but not melting. All I need to do is to add that. I need an opportunity to shape it. Basically, that's my goal. So I'm applying decent amount of wafer paper conditioner and letting it to absorb for a second before I'm going to do anything else. So now my wafer paper is very soft and very flexible, and I'm going to make it like in a petal shape. So I'm going to give it just a little bit of texture. Oh, my humidity. So you can see my wafer paper is already melting, even though I didn't apply as much wafer paper conditioner as I used to. But the reason for that is because my humidity is very high. It's raining and it's been raining whole night. So my humidity was 67% when I came in my studio in the morning. And because I have all my lights here, it's down to 65, 60. So it's relatively high humidity to work in with wafer paper. And to prevent my wafer paper from melting, I'm going to use a touch of corn flour and apply cornstarch. I've been teaching a lot. Cornstarch and apply it with a brush. I personally prefer to apply cornstarch with a brush because then it will give me a better control of how much I'm applying. Yeah, my wafer paper is very soft because of the humidity. So to prevent my wafer paper from disintegrating, I'm going to apply a very thin layer of cornstarch. And if you live in a high humid or you're worrying about your wafer paper melting, even if you're like making flowers and then letting them dry and then bringing them outside and they're melting, just use a little bit more cornstarch and then shape your wafer paper. So I'm going to give it just a shape like this and place it on my former to dry. That's the all what I'm going to do to that. Just drape it over some sort of shape. You can use a spoon, you can use whatever you want, and I place my shiny side down because I want my petal to be like facing inwards. So that's what I'll keep doing. And ask me any questions if you wanted to. I saw a question about the size of my cake dummies. Let me make a few more petals, and while they will be drying, I'll measure, because I don't remember. I need to measure my dummy cakes here. So I will condition my petals, place it on the side to absorb the conditioner for a second, then apply cornstarch and put it on my shaper. Let me know where you, if you're watching a replay, let me know where you're watching from. And if you're working on something, feel free to just watch and not to comment. Because my idea and the whole idea about making this, or going live on Fridays and doing this Wafer Paper Fridays, is to create a accountability opportunity for you to plan ahead and work on your projects. Because I know for me, like, if I don't have anything on my schedule, I will procrastinate. I needed to make these flowers like 2 weeks, at least a week ago, and I couldn't bring myself to do anything because there is always something more important than something fun. So that's why I'm here working on my project and encouraging you to work on your projects as well, especially on Friday if you are in the wedding cake industry or you're making cakes for any larger events over the weekend. Fridays usually are the busiest. So this is my way to give back to our beautiful community and entertain you a little bit on Fridays. And I think I would love to do this every single week. We'll see if we'll have enough projects to work on. And it's always something. I have a huge list of things I wanted to try, like a lot of different wafer paper flowers I wanted to try. But before I will make like an official tutorial, more official tutorial, I need to play and I need to find a way to make those flowers. So this is my way to keep myself accountable and entertain you while I'm working on my flowers as well. So I'm working on a Lion King buttercream cake. Perfect. Oh, I'm going to a movie theater tomorrow to see. So our movie theater where I live, they do reruns or of old movies or cartoons. And on Saturday mornings, they do cartoons for kids. And because I love all the cartoons, I'm going to watch Minions tomorrow. I love Minions. I haven't seen this movie like in forever and ever, but it always makes me smile. So I'm going to go to the movie theater tomorrow morning to watch Minions. And I would love to see Lion King in a movie theater. I don't think I ever saw that in a movie theater. So, and I don't like watching movie on TV, or I prefer to go to a movie theater and just, I think it's more fun. But I need to I need to finish these flowers. And working on Mother's Day cake. Oh, yeah, this Sunday is Mother's Day. Yeah. Oh, that's true. I'm currently working on Eurovision Song Contest cake. Oh, I'm so jealous. I watch Eurovision every single year. I started because I used to live in Estonia, and I started watching Eurovision when I was in high school. Because before that, my father wouldn't let me watch that, and yeah, I watch that every single year. So I'm very excited for this year contestants. So Jackie, it's so fun, and this is like it's not a class. It's just like me talking about things and working on things and showing you that everything is possible and you can do things when you don't know what you're doing as well. So I need to make a little bit more of these petals. I think I have enough for a few flowers. And while they will be drying, I wanted to try and shape a different type of flower. If you're just joining us now, tell us where you're watching from and what is your drink of choice. Today's question is, what is your drink of choice? And if you wanted to work on something, feel free to just keep me in the background, chatting and entertaining you while I'm working on my projects. I'm making basic wafer paper flowers decorations for a project I'm working on, and I will need them to dry for a little bit before I can assemble them together. And they will be on a wire, so I need them to be completely dry before I can stick them together. Usually, if I need to make a lot of flowers like this, like very basic decorative elements, I place them on a former like this and I leave them to dry overnight if I have time, because it's just like more manageable for me to do things on a different days, especially if I need to make a lot of flowers at the same time. Okay, so I have my petal formers with different petals just drying over these petal formers, and I wanted to try to shape it different. I wanted to try to use craft punch to shape that as well and see how easy that would be with a craft punch. This is 2-inch, very basic flower. I use it for my 100 flowers in a 100-day challenge, so that's why I have this craft punch. And I wanted to see if I can use it to make centers, so like smaller flowers as well. With that, we'll see. And again, I'm applying my Wafer paper conditioner on the shiny side because I find that pearlescent colors or dry colors work better on the shiny side because it's smooth and it reflects color a little bit better. And in my bowl, I have a mixture of my Wafer paper conditioner and airbrush pearl color. And my humidity is very high, that's why I need to apply a little bit more of cornstarch to prevent my wafer paper from melting. So yeah, it's still a little bit sticky because of the humidity. I wanted to do something with this flower. Let's see. Just a little bit of cornstarch and see if I can shape it to use it as my center for my larger flowers, because I'm still going to put it on a wire, but I wanted something a little bit more interesting. Maybe like I was thinking to play with this what is the name, craft punch, to maybe make cherry blossoms. So I think this would be very interesting for this craft punch to use for cherry blossoms. So this is my first time trying making something like this, and you are watching me doing that. So anytime you need to do something new, just try and see. Your first flower probably is not going to be your best flower, but then when you understand how you wanted to shape it or what you wanted to do with that, it will be way easier for you to do something beautiful very fast. So usually for the first few flowers, I struggle a lot because I don't understand how I wanted that to be shaped. Like this. I think something like this would look very beautiful as a cherry blossom or apple blossom, pinched all together. And I just place it in my foam pot like this to dry. And my last one. I kind of like it. It's easy to make. Relatively easy and fast to make. Okay. Just pinching all together and placing on the side to dry. Okay, let me have a sip of water and answer your question about the size for the cake dummies. And I'm also finishing setting up my new baking room by my wafer paper, I guess it's wafer paper station, to make beautiful flowers. Yeah. Happy early Mother's Day to all. Happy early Mother's Days. Yeah, it's this Sunday, so today's Friday. Peach iced tea. Yeah, I guess it's warm if you're drinking iced tea. And coffee and wine at night. I'm drinking coffee today and water. Hello from Nigeria. Hello, hello, hello. So I saw a question about what is the size for these cake dummies. So let's measure everything together because I don't remember. This is the cake. I'm working on making a tutorial for these flowers. We already made wafer paper gardenias, so it's somewhere on my YouTube channel. But I need to make a tutorial for these flowers as well because that's what I'm going to teach at the conference. Pastry Art magazine, uh, and this cake has four tiers. Let me turn the slide off so you can see it a little bit better. Four tiers. This tier is white. These two tiers in the middle are pink, in the pink color, and the top is white as well. I did it in two different colors because I like to have an accent. So you can see it's a little bit heavier on the bottom with the flowers, but this middle tier, this is my focal point. So these two colors are pink, and top and bottom is white. And for the size, for my dummy, let me take a ruler. So write it down if you wanted to write it down, the size for the cake dummies. The top tier, and most of the time when I make any cake dummies, I do not assemble them together if I don't have to. And the reason for that, because then I can reuse them. So I can stack them, I can use the top tier with all the other designs and make more variations of designs. If I have to assemble or stick them together, usually I use either wires or I use bamboo skewers, so it's easier to take it apart as well. So my top tier is 3 inches by 3 inches. My second tier is 4 inches by 3 inches. The third one is 6 inches high and 5 inches in width. And the bottom one is 6 inches high and 6 by 6. So the bottom is 6 width, 6 high. The second one is 5 width and 6 high as well. The third one is 4 width and 3 inches high. Come on. And the top one is 3 inches width and 3 inches high. So that's the proportions, that's the sizing for my tiers for this cake. And here's again the size. So 6 by 6, 5 by 6, 4 by 3, and 3 by 3. And again, the reason for me to do them, to keep them separately, because then, for example, if I wanted to make more cakes for my portfolio, I can take, for example, only these tiers, remove this flower and present that as a separate cake. So you won't see this as being a part of the bigger cake, and this might serve as a different cake. I know I'm giving this, holding this wrong, but basically this could be a separate cake for my portfolio. Or I can use a different flower, like for example, I can take my peony like this. Let me grab a different peony. I can use this as a separate cake for my portfolio, but I can use the larger peony as my signature flower, or I can do this on top like with a peony, and it will be a different cake for my portfolio. Same with the bottom tier. I can use just this cake on itself, or I can use like a smaller combination, smaller tiers, and it will look like a different cake for my portfolio. So basically, for the most part, I treat all my cakes as Lego pieces where you can assemble and you can take them separately. You can take two tiers, and because both of them are pink, they will look like a complete cake on itself without placing with other tiers. But then when I'm taking all four together, it looks like a new cake. And basically, if I take 3 tiers, it will look like a different cake. If I remove these flowers and use something like a peony, it will look like a different cake. That's the reason. That's how I go about like building my portfolio and making different cakes and arranging things together, it's just like it's a lot of different tiers. And because all of them are in the same color, in the same style, I can use them interchangeably, because some of my cakes, like, or there, some of them are all assembled together because I needed that for the purpose of like making a cake. But for most of my cakes, some of my cakes, they are not connected together, so I can put like different tiers with different designs. And on a day when I make I have a photo shoot or I take pictures, I take videos of my cakes, I will just like pull all my cakes out of my display and play around, arrange them all together in different places, because all of them are in the same style. I have my for me personally, I have my own style of making wedding cakes, which are very light pink pastel fondant cakes with different textures and a few accent elements, with all the flowers being interchangeable between different styles. And then I can just like play around and use different things. And I'm still waiting for my flowers to, my petals to dry for my flowers, so that's why I'm answering your questions. And I love how elegant that looks. Thank you. I love it too. I love, like, in my style, I like very narrow and tall cakes. And if you wanted to, let me grab you a link. If you wanted to learn how to discover your own cake decorating style, I have a masterclass where I teach how to do that, and it's $17. So if you ever decide to learn how to discover your own cake decorating class, I just put a link in chat to if you wanted to do that too, because I know, like, for me, discovering my own cake decorating style was a game changer. Now I know how to do that. Like, all my cakes are in the same style, and I feel very confident about doing the same thing over and over again and play with them and change them around. What is the servings? So for the servings, I need to calculate them. I don't know on top of my head. For the most part, when I bake cakes and I make cakes for my clients, I only bake cakes in even numbers. So I only have baking pans in even numbers, like 4, 6, 8, 10. And if I need to make something in size like this with like 3, 4, 5, and 6 inches, I will use dummy cakes for all the odd numbers. I hope it makes sense, because I don't want to buy baking tins for every single size. I just don't feel the need to do that. So I will bake, like, for the most part, depends on the number of servings. It will be, the bottom tier will be a real cake, the all other tiers would be a dummy cake, because usually for the wedding, it's not a whole cake, it's a real cake. For me, in my business, I do the bottom tier is the real cake, the other tiers are dummy cakes, and serve a kitchen cake, or you can call it sheet cake. I just call it a kitchen cake on a back to cut. And do you use foundation for your dummy? I'm not sure I understand what foundation is. If you meant fondant, yes, I use Arachina pasta top, but for dummies, sometimes I use the cheaper. Which mold do you use for the front of your beautiful cake? This is Magnolia by Prima Marketing. And I will try to include the link after our conversation in the description. My flowers, my petals are too dry, just like too soft because of the humidity. They don't want to dry. Okay, I need to start working on something else then, because it will take forever to dry. And how do you hide the holes while reusing them? Most of my designs contain pearls. Most of my designs have pearls. So let me show you. So you can see I have pearls. Most of my designs have pearls. So when I pull a wire out of my dummy cake, I will place another pearl right here, and there will be no visible, no reminiscence of anything else. There will be just, like, you can see here is a hole and a lot of pearls. So I will add another pearl and place it here, and that's it. You won't be able to see that. So same for any decorations. I will just, like, use the pearl or another piece of decoration to hide it, and then use the design. But again, when I make my designs, when I plan my designs, I do that very intentionally in terms of if I wanted to reuse it, how I wanted to play around, and how I wanted to move my pieces around to make another cake for my portfolio. And also, for the most part, I try to assemble my cakes not on the front of the cake but on the top of the cake, so it's so much easier to remove and you won't be able to see that from the side. And that's what I love about your style. Yes, thank you so much. I think it's very important. Sometimes I do make cakes like this. It's just for fun. That cake is like, it's almost black color, but most of the time there's even, it's like a different color, but it's the same style. I like mixing and matching things and doing things in the same style over and over and over again, because that's what creates recognition, brand recognition. And my clients know me and wanted to order my cakes because they already used to seeing these cakes and this design. I don't need to educate them and introduce a new different style every single time, because they're not the same, they're different cakes, but they are in the same style with the same techniques. Such a good trick, never thought of, because of buying all sizes is very expensive. Yes, I do not bake cakes in every single size because it's expensive. For the most part, I have a lot of cake tins in the same size, like 6, 8, and 10. And I have a few 12, but like 6, 8, and 10 are the most used for me, because for the most part, for the wedding cake, I only bake like a bottom tier of the cake. And the other thing is, like, when you're practicing and when you're making dummy cakes, like I'm working with a dummy cake today, the beauty of working with the dummy cakes and having a few cakes on a display, now if someone wants to order last minute cake from me for waiting, first of all, I will charge extra for last minute cakes. But however, I can take any of my cakes, like anything I have on display, even for this cake, right? I have it here already assembled, already like fully done. All I need to do, if I wanted to use this cake for an actual wedding, I will bake a bottom tier as an actual cake, then supplement the kitchen cake for the number of serving, and use this cake as a whole cake on top of everything. So it will be 5 tiers of cake, but all I need to do is only bake and cover in fondant 1 tier. And again, with the same design, my bottom tier is white, because if I need to add another white tier on the bottom, I don't need to match my pink color perfectly to the other pink color on a cake. And same for like all of these techniques. Most of my cakes, they do have like bottom tiers. Let me grab this cake, for example. For the most part, my bottom tiers for most of my cakes are different from all the other tiers. And the reason for that is I make my cakes, by the way, this top tier is from this cake as well. So I'm telling you, I use the same thing over and over again, and I will reuse these dummy cakes with a different design. Again, it's how I actually do this in my business. So you can see my bottom tier is a different design as well, compared to all the like plain white top tiers, all the tiers. So for a client, that would mean that this cake they have to cut as the bride and groom at the wedding, and the rest I can work on in advance. I can make all the other tiers in advance, keep it in storage, especially if you're making a wedding cake for your family. You're making, for example, you're making a wedding cake for your daughter's or son's wedding, and you wanted to work in advance. You can prepare everything and you can design your cake in a way that top 3 tiers, 4, 5, 6 tiers will be in one style, and the bottom tier will be in a different style. So you can prepare everything, you can cover your dummies, you can make all the wafer paper flowers, you can assemble and set it aside. And like 3 days, 5 days before the wedding, all you have to do is to bake your bottom tier, decorate your bottom tier in a little bit like slightly different style, slightly different design. But all you need to do on the week of the wedding is just to make one cake and decorate one cake without making all the flowers. So it's so much less stress and so much more manageable on you. if you have a busy wedding season, it's such a time saver when you can plan in advance. And for the wedding, a lot of wedding venues, they do charge to cut your cake, to cut an actual cake. So a lot of event planners, a lot of couples, they do prefer to have a kitchen cake or a cutting cake on the side, because it helps them to serve your guests way faster than just like cutting an actual cake. But for the waiting for the bride and groom, I find it just fun to cut into a real cake and not a dummy cake with a slice cut off. So I always make like my bottom tier is a real cake and the rest is a dummy cake, and it's easier, more manageable to store and to do all the things. So that's why most of the time my bottom tiers on all my cakes are different, because that would be a real tier, real cake for the wedding. That's my little secret. Um, Good idea adding pearls. Thank you. If it possible, can you tell me for 200 people, maybe if you have a list, can you help me? I have, if you wanted to, I have a serving chart inside my cake portfolio. Let me grab it. You are making me work today. I thought I'm going to entertain you, and you're actually making me work. Happy Friday. So I have my cake portfolio. You can also find this template on my website if you wanted to keep it for yourself. You can edit and make your own. You don't have to. You are not going to use mine, but it's a template where you can put all your information, like add all your information. I use it for my clients, and I just print it out. But inside my cake portfolio, so you can see all my cakes are, again, same concept. It's a different cake, but bottom tier is always different, just because it will help me to work faster on a day of the wedding, and I don't need too much the fondant. And inside my cake portfolio template, there is a cake serving chart. So this is the chart I use, and this is the chart for wedding serving. So it's 2 inches by 1 inch portions, and this is the serving chart I give to my clients. So for example, if you wanted to have 3-tier cake for 100 servings, my general suggestion, sometimes like I find that the top tier for my wedding cakes, I don't want it to be larger than 4 inches, because I find the cake that starts with like 6-inch top tier just don't look as beautiful or as proportional as any other cakes. And I find like 4 inches is my perfect size. So for example, based on this cake, right, I have 3-inch tier on the top, 4, 5, and 6. So if I start with my cake being 4 inches, it's okay. If I start with my cake being 5 inches, it's a little bit too wide for me personally. So even if I'm not counting these servings as a serving, like I still would prefer to use a cake diamond, even though like the 4-inch and 3-inch cake diamonds are very cheap. So I would add that to cake for free without like counting that into the number of serving, just because that's like visually looks way better than when your cake starts from like 4-inch top tier, it depends on the size, or 5-inch top tier, no wider than that. Because when you start your cake with a 7-inch or like 6-inch top tier, it just doesn't look as beautiful as that could be. So I would add a few more. So basically, there are 2 ways in my style I go by designing cake. I have 1-inch difference between tiers or 2-inch difference between tiers. Most of the time I go either or. So most of the time I do not mix them. It's either 1 inch or 2 inches. And I think for that cake I have 2-inch difference between tiers. It's a little bit larger. And for this one I have 1. So if you need to have 100 servings, what you can do is you can start with 10. 10 will give you 38, like 40 servings. Then 8, 6, and you wanted to have just 3 tiers and nothing else. You don't want to add any cake dummies, because then it will be like very challenging starting with a smaller tier. So I still would do maybe like four is a dummy cake because it's inexpensive. It's not going to add a lot of cost to you. Then 6, 8, and 10. So your cake would be proportional in two different sizes. So I would do 6 and 8 and 10, and it will give you about like 80, 90 servings. Oh, you need 200. I think you said 200. You said you need 200 of wedding cake servings in 3 tiers. It's impossible to make it. No, I'm taking. I take it back. It's possible, but it's not going to look beautiful. So for 200, I would suggest you to make 80 servings as a real cake if you wanted to do a real cake, and the rest to do as a dummy cake or kitchen cake. Because 200 in 3 tiers, you would need to do like something like 12, 13, and 14. It's not going to look beautiful in wedding servings. It's going to be like little chubby thing, and it's just not my style. Maybe it's your style. I'm not placing any judgment on anyone, because sheet cake or a kitchen cake, it's 100 servings. It's in my size, it's a full size sheet pan, 12 by 18 inches, and it's 108 servings, so it's 100 servings. So I would do 100 servings in a real cake and 100 servings, because 3 tiers, 200 servings is just not going to look beautiful. There is no way to make it look beautiful, and 3 tiers is just not enough. You would have to make them very wide and very chubby. But if you wanted to have my serving sizes, these are inside my portfolio template. This is the template, so you can make it your own, and it comes with pre-written text, and it comes with access to my own portfolio, so you can look through my pricing and all of this information. But I designed this template to help you out to communicate your prices with your clients as well. It's also available on my website, and I love it. Work smarter, not harder, and less stress. 100%, especially if you're a home baker or you're just transitioning into making wedding cakes. We just don't have the capacity in our fridges, in our cabinets, in our kitchens to make wedding cakes. 5 wedding cakes a week is impossible, especially if you wanted to make money and you wanted to make good money. For me, it's impossible to make 5 wedding cakes in 1 week if I'm not prepping in advance. If I'm not prepping, like making my dummy cakes or making my flowers in advance, it's just like it's impossible to make 1 cake a day. That's why I put everything together, and then I keep it in a storage or somewhere prepared, and then I just make bottom tier and a kitchen cake on a week of the wedding. And I don't speak any other languages, at least not the languages I see in the chat. I don't have a link for the mold. You can go, I bought it off Etsy. It's called Magnolia Blooms by Prima Marketing. I don't have a link because I don't sell anything. I only make wafer paper flowers. That's all I know is like how to make. No, I know a lot of things, but most of the time what I make is wafer paper flowers. Okay, let's see. My flowers are still very, very, not very dry. It's very humid in here, and even with the lights, it doesn't help. Let's see if I can place them on a wire. Let's start doing something, because I've been talking for so long and entertaining you, but I still have to get some work done. And I'll start with using my flower centers here, and I'll grab 26 gauge wire. So these are my wires. Let me grab 26 in white. 26 white is my most used floral wire for leaves, for petals, for like most of the time I use 26, and brands PME, NY Cakes, CK products, a lot of different brands. Same, just like find something that you like and use it as much as you can. And Also making 5 cakes, how can you deliver all of them? Yeah, if you're making 5 cakes in a week and all of them are real cakes top to bottom, it's very hard to deliver them if they are real cake, because they're very heavy, that they will be very heavy. My neighbor is mowing his lawn, so if it gets loud, it's the reason because of my neighbor. So for my wires, I'm going to cut them in thirds, just enough for me to make my flowers. Let's start with 3 flowers. So I'll take 3 wires and make a little hook on top of each wire, and like this. So, and I will start with making 3 flowers first. We'll see how many petals are dry. So it's still not very dry in here. Interesting. And if your wafer paper isn't drying very fast, first of all, the reason might be is your studio is very humid. But the other reason might be is you might need to use less glycerin inside your wafer paper conditioner mixture. And to assemble my flowers, I use wafer paper glue, and wafer paper glue is basically all my scraps, all of these scraps of wafer paper melted in water, and I leave it to bloom, or I put it in a microwave for like 5-second increments until I can use it. I need a smaller brush for that. For that application, let me grab a different brush. Like this. So I will start with placing my flowers on the wire first, with adding just a touch of wafer paper glue here, and threading my wire through the flower like that, and pinching all together. And I will make a hook and place it upside down to dry. Same for all the other things. Okay. Probably should have done that when making my flowers, because then like cutting them, shaping them, and pinching them on the wire would be a little bit easier. But we live and we learn. So upside down to dry, and same for this one. Now I need to make a little more wafer paper petals, the smaller ones, for the cakes, and use a little bit less wafer paper conditioner so they will dry eventually. I like it. These ones are quite cute, even though like to place them on a cake like that, or maybe color in a light pink color, might be fun as well. So I will cut a few more of my petals for a smaller, like inner size petals for that, because those ones are do not want it to dry yet. Okay. So just a few smaller ones, because I do need to make a tutorial for that today, and if I do not have any wafer paper petals, that would be a very hard way to make a tutorial without wafer paper petals. Okay. And the other way to condition your wafer paper is to use a steamer. But I still wanted to add a little bit more of the pearl color. That's why I used my wafer paper conditioner. And still I find like using wafer paper conditioner gives more shape and more movement to my petals than just using a little steamer. So let's see, let's try this again with a little bit less moisture. I'll drop a few more petal shapers. I have all the different sizes for petal shapers, and I collect them obviously all the time because that's what I use for wafer paper. And I'll use my conditioner mixture again and shape my petals again. But I will try to use less wafer paper conditioner this time. Less, I mean like less on my brush. Okay. So it will dry faster. Otherwise, I won't be able to make a tutorial today. And I wanted to go to a movie theater tomorrow. So I need to do this today. And then I will set it aside. But if you wanted to watch a tutorial how to make these flowers, I have a tutorial on my YouTube channel and on my website as well. They called wedding flowers, I think, for the same method, but it's just like the easiest way to make wafer paper flowers. These are my favorite filler flowers. Okay, so this now it has less moisture, so I'm going to shape it and place it on my shaper to dry. And sometimes if like I'm in a rush, even though I'm trying not to be in a rush for my wafer paper flowers, I use a heat gun to make it dry a little bit faster and then assemble them together. So maybe that's what I would need to do today before making a tutorial. Should have planned better for making that, but it's very humid. It was raining in. It's still very humid outside, so my wafer paper might not dry as fast. And I was making wafer paper daffodils yesterday. I was very generous with the wafer paper conditioner and it was fine. But today is a new day. And today it might work a little bit differently. And for something like this, like these wedding filler flowers, I usually make a lot of them because I can always find a way to use them on a cake. And I think something like this will always be handy, especially like if you're making wedding cakes all the time. Have a lot of flowers on hand helps, because if you watched me on Instagram, I showed how to assemble those flowers on a black cake. It's not black, but it's almost black. I had that cake, the large one behind me, that was for a style photo shoot, and I only had like 4 days to make it, so I make it very quick with all the flowers I had on hand. And now I'm working on a few other cakes, and my goal is to do this YouTube lives every single Friday for Wafer Paper Friday and show you some of the process of behind the scenes, how I'm working on certain things and not just talking. Okay, so these are my petals and the petal former. You can see they are very uneven, I would say, but that's how I would make them for most of my flowers. Let's see if I can assemble a flower to show you, because we are almost out of time for today's conversation. Okay, I have a few petals that are almost dry, or like dry enough to be assembled. And for something like a very simple wedding flower like this, I will take my petals and apply a small amount of wafer paper glue on the sharp corner, like at the bottom of the petal, like this. But a small amount, actually very small amount of wafer paper glue. And then take my center or my first layer on a wire and attach a few petals here, pinching them all together, like on one side, on the other side, like that. another petal here, and I'm just pinching all my petals together, making them look like a kind of like a abstract wedding flower like this. And maybe the last one right here like that, so I can open it up or I can close it, and I will put it on a rack to dry, probably upside down, and then it will be assembled all together. So I will make more of that. I will wait for my other petals to dry, and then when I put them on a wire, they become like this beautiful wafer paper flowers for wedding cakes, which you can see still flexible and still soft because they are made out of wafer paper, and they will stay soft and flexible for a long period of time. Just make sure that you know your humidity and you can control it, and not to use too much glycerin, and so your petals will flap. So this is what I'll keep working on today, and make a lot of these flowers. So let me show you again this cake I'm making for a tutorial. You can see that, so these three are our 4 wafer paper gardenias. I think we're making gardenias next week here on YouTube. At least I'm planning on making. But all the rest are this like very quick filler flowers for my arrangement. Same for this one. I just love playing with them. And I make a lot of this like filler flowers, something, wafer paper in different colors for different cakes, for different reasons. They are, oh, my dummy tear attacked me. They are most versatile. Okay, if you have a few questions, feel free to ask them, and I'll leave you here after answering your questions and keep working on my flowers. Can you please tell us which size of your wires and which wafer paper you're using for these flowers? So for my wafer paper, I use 0.27 or 0.30 premium wafer paper, and for the wire, I have 26 gauge wire, and then I'll use white floral tape to assemble everything together. So thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know. Okay, last question. Now I know what you're drinking and where you're watching me from. Last question. Let me know if you enjoyed this conversation, even though it's not a tutorial, it's just like your time to work on your projects while I'm working on my projects, and just a chit chat. And should we stick with that? Did you like it? Did you enjoy being here? Would you join me next Friday, for example? We will do them every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's just the best time that works for me. And I would love to know if it's something you are enjoying and planning for attending in the future, or I don't need to worry about anything and just work in a quiet room. Oh, I'm so thirsty. So, and I will work on my flowers, make a tutorial. I will try to edit this video maybe later with the addition of arranging those flowers into a full tutorial, and post here on YouTube if you wanted to watch it separately without watching the whole thing. And next week I was thinking about doing gardenias because I wanted to make more of those. I need them all the time, and they are very pretty. Thank you so much. Very enjoyable. Okay, thank you, really love it. Thank you. Good tricks, always pleasure to attend the sessions. Yeah, so we can keep them. We can keep doing them because I miss being on YouTube. I love doing YouTube more than anything because it's so much fun. I think we have like our little crew here on YouTube, which is fun. Yes, enjoy this conversation. Always good tips for our cakes. Thanks a lot. Enjoy hanging out with you today. Thank you. Yeah, really love it. Okay, so next Friday, same time, same place with me, another episode of our Wafer Paper Friday, and we'll see. I will do my best to stick to the schedule and keep them every single week, so you can plan ahead for Fridays if you need to work on something or you need a little pick me up. maybe you're watching a replay and you just need someone to talk to you while you're working. I'll be your accountability partner. It's hard to say. So next Friday, every Friday, 11 a.m. here on 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on YouTube, Florida Cakes. And if you need any templates, recipes, tutorials, whatever I have available is on my website, floriacakes.com. My name is Chef Anna, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.